Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we got an NFL team preview special. Today we're going to highlight the Tennessee Titans out of Nashville, Tennessee. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Boy. I'm going to say it one more time. Boy. The 615 is getting ready to rock. RP land is going to be at a high level. Let's talk about them Tennessee Titans. Number one, let's talk about the head coach, Mike Vrabel. I think he's done an outstanding job. Last year, the Titans went 11-5. The only thing that kept them out of the playoffs was their defense, and I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. But I'm going to start with the big three last year. That really surprised me. Derrick Henry going over 2,000 yards rushing. The young man out of Stockville, Mississippi, A.J. Brown, having over 1,000 yards receiving. But what really surprised me most of all, we got to give it up from the young man out of Texas A&M, Ryan Tannehill. Everybody was upset because he got signed to a 4-year extension. But you know what? In this business, he produced over 3,300 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He'd earned every bit of his money last year. And he proved to everybody that, hey, even though things didn't work out in Miami, I found me a home in Tennessee and I'm balling. So let's start with Mr. Ryan Tannehill. As I just stated, he lived up to the money. 3,300 yards last year, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, couldn't play any better. Now I'm going to go down to the running back position. Derrick Henry. Boy, he got into the class of elite last year. 2,000 season yard club. When I talk about elite, Jamal Lewis, Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Terrell Davis, and Chris Johnson. Congratulations, my man. You are in their class elite for 2,000 yards, and you put on the show. One of the most conditional running backs in the National Football League, and he's hitting his prime because he's conditioned. But however, for me, Mr. Henry, here on 100 Yards of Football today, for you to take it to the next level, what are you going to do in the playoffs? And are you going to get to the Super Bowl? And are you going to be like that young man out of Pensacola, Florida, by the name of Emmitt Smith, NFL rushing leader? See, a lot of people want to talk about what Emmitt Smith done with the Cowboys in his career. But when the lights were on, the stars are aligned, he became big time because he got 3 rings. 136 yards rushing in the Super Bowl in Atlanta. Derrick Henry, I want to see you take it to the next level like that. Move on to the receiving corps. I like the receiving corps. Even before the young man came over from Foley, Alabama, and Julio Jones. A.J. Brown, in his 3rd year, is proving to everybody he's special. Over 1,000 yards, 6'1", 226. He's a worker. I told you. Where is he from? Stockville, Mississippi. It's some in the water in Mississippi. I keep telling y'all greatness. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Steve McNair, Brett Favre, Archie Manning. Can I keep going? James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, Shepard Smith, Conway Twitty. And that's what you're seeing with A.J. Brown. He's ascending in the top 5 in the position of receivers in the National Football League. Then I like what they brought over in free agency. Josh Reynolds, averaging over 13 yards a catch, did his thing in L.A. They drafted a young man out of Louisville, Des Kirkpatrick, who's 6'2", about 207, a legitimate 4'4" guy. But man, you talking about a player that can change everything for this organization. And that's why I think the Titans have a very serious chance of playing in the Super Bowl in L.A. When Julio Jones signed last week with the Tennessee Titans, I hope the 615 stood up and said hallelujah. Because with that receiving core and what I just mentioned, you talking about a guy who at one time, and still I think, may be the best receiver I ever seen play the game. And I don't want to hear about, because we broadcasting here locally out of Metro Atlanta, he stayed hurt. He didn't have a lot of touchdowns here when he played with the Falcons. But I'm going to tell you something. Let me look at my notes right quick. In 2016, the Super Bowl season for the Atlanta Falcons, 83 catches, 1,409 yards, and 14 games, averaged almost 17 yards a catch. Came back in 2017, 88 catches, 1,444 yards. And think about what he had in those years. There was what I call his second line of receivers that supported him. Taylor Gabriel, Mohamed Sanu, Justin Hardy. Now let me roll back to the Titans receiving core right now. A.J. Brown, Dez Kirkpatrick, Josh Reynolds. It's no comparison. I don't care if Julio is healthy for 10 games. Think about how A.J. Brown game is going to ascending. Now I'm going to talk about the offensive line. Derrick Henry went over 2,000 yards last week. But this is what is really amazing to me. It was a patchwork land. Taylor Lewan got injured in October and was out for the rest of the year. First round pick, who's not with the club anymore, Isaiah Wilson, didn't play it down. But you know what happened? The young man out of the University of Georgia, Ben Jones, played at a high level. Nate Davis came into his own. And Roger Sanders played at a high level. Now with a healthy Tyler Lewan, Derrick Henry might surpass that a little bit. And then finally, let's talk about the defense. This is where the Titans are going to have to take their game to the next level. When you think about the Titans, the one thing that kept them from advancing to the playoffs was their defense. I'm going to start with the sack total. The D-line, they only had 19 sacks. But that problem has been fixed in the offseason. They're bringing over a young man from Baltimore by the name, Indianapolis by Danico Autry. 50 tackles for losses, 30 sacks in his career. He's a guy that's got an attitude, versatile, and play with effort. Then they're bringing over another young man. He had a torn ACL, but that's all right. But he's got like 39 career sacks. His name is Mr. Bud Dupree. He's coming. Then it means Harold Landry game is going to go up. And Jeffrey Simmons is a very special football player out of Mississippi State. Another one of them guys is from the state of Mississippi. He was double team and triple team last year. And the only reason that the D-line didn't really perform was Vic Beasley, no disrespect, didn't give him nothing. DeVayron Clowney was hurt. But now you're bringing on Danico Autry and Bud Dupree along with that pass rushing expertise to go with these linebackers that they have. Rashad Evans is a player out of the University of Alabama. Jayon Brown is a player. But think about this. I think they got a guy that's going to be special in Nashville. He's from Huntsville. Played high school football there, 111 miles, and did his thing at Georgia. Monty Rice. Now moving to the secondary. Kevin Bayard is the only guy they got left from the secondary. They allowed Mr. Jackson. They allowed Mr. Butler. They allowed Mr. Kenny Vaco, all of them to leave. But look what they did. The players they brought in what I call some serious players that's going to give effort. If Caleb Farley is healthy out of Virginia Tech, I had him as one of my top 2 corners in the game. Converted quarterback at Virginia Tech. And look at his game film. Explosive. 6'2", about 208. If you want to know how special, I don't care about his injuries. Go back and put on the Florida State game when he's a true freshman on national TV against ESPN. He's a legitimate 4'3" guy. Then they bring over that jackrabbit out of South Florida, Darius Jenkins. We know how he can play. And what I'm hearing last week, In the OTAs, he was locking. That's what we call it in the neighborhood. The lock. When you lock the doors, that means the receiver's got his hands on the receiver. That's what Mr. Jenkins was doing last week. And then they brought over Elijah Molden out of the University of Washington. He's a player. Remember, his father played in the league, Alex, and was pretty good with the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that really, really stepped their game up in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball. I like everything what the Tennessee Titans are doing this year. And I think they're going to win the AFC South, and I think they're the team to beat. So, that being said, I'm going to dedicate this video to my sister down there in the 615 Vincent Turner. I'm coming to some Titan games this year, sister. So please have me some tickets because the Titans are going to be real serious this season. So my final words about the Tennessee Titans this year and going into 2021, it comes from a great musician out of my hometown, the 901, which is 3.5 hours away up the road. His name is Isaac Hayes. And he had a song out that came out doing this great movie. It was on the movie soundtrack, Shaft. Who's that black private eye that you will risk your neck for? His brother man. That guy's out of Foley, Alabama. And his name is Julio Jones. It's going to be on in the AFC this year. So I know Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, y'all might be the favorites. Josh Allen, you doing your thing over there in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson, you doing your thing with the Ravens. But I'm going to tell you this, the Tennessee Titans are going to be a very dangerous football team with Julio Jones. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'd like to say thank you here at 100 Yards Football. And to my producer, we call him Babyface Nelson. The very talented Logan Landers for producing the show this morning. Thank you and enjoy the day. This has been the Tennessee Titans Team Preview 2021.